As one of the world's most truest type of gaming legends, I have no doubt that my bubble snuffed pornography has played games in the tens of thousands that you motherfuckers have probably never even heard of. So here are a few games that you probably would have played if you were a real gamer and were old as dirt like my bubble.
Yo, what do you mean old as dirt?
Oh, I'm sorry, bubble. You was young and you was beautiful.
Omikron was headed by a dude named David Cage, who got bored of his life as a composer after 15 years and decided to make video games. You know him and his company if you own a PS4. His company, Quantic Dream, has been making interactive experiences you have certainly heard of, like Detroit Become Human, Beyond Two Souls, and Heavy Rain. But back in 1994, his company was more concerned with making an actual good fucking video game. Enter Omikron, a video game way before its time. It did things that games today hail as something great and innovative, like Ubisoft's recent train wreck Watch Dogs Legion. The stick here was you could recruit and play as anyone, something David Cage did with Omikron before most people who played Legions was even born. It even had a David Bowie music video at the start of every new area. And as a Bowie fan, you like to think there could never be enough Bowie, right? But then you play Omikron and holy shit, there is so much Bowie. Flashback was a marvel of a game from Delphine Software released back in 1992 on the Super Nintendo as well as some other systems including the Sega CD and PC, and was listed in the Guinness World Records as the best-selling French game of all time. It was followed by a 3D sequel called Fade to Black that was a decent game in its own right. Flashback was a cinematic platformer that in some ways served as the third in a trilogy to Delphine's prior game called Another World and its sequel. They weren't literally connected, but Flashback just served to exist as what they were striving for with their earlier releases. The game took place in 2142, and you played as the amnesiac Conrad, who crash-landed his hoverbike in a jungle on Titan. The game was held for Conrad's realistic running and jumping, and although it was a 2D platformer, the screens didn't scroll as you moved forward. Instead, they opted to showcase the game scene by scene with multiple layers of altitude, requiring you to jump and grab ledges to pull yourself up or down to the lower levels to progress. It's also worth mentioning that a remastered version of the game was released on the Switch and the PlayStation 4 in 2018, so you really don't have any excuse not to check out one of gaming's best retro titles.
Welcome to the sewers, punk. The guy you're replacing, he had that same tough guy smirk on his face that you do, till he hit the wall. They're out there now blotting him up with handy wipes. But the ghost here, I always come back for more.
Yeah, okay, buddy. Sewer Shark is actually perhaps the most interesting subject. You see, this game came at the height of, I guess we will call it popularity, of the FMV or full motion video game, which was somehow popularized by an entry of absolute dogshit titles on the Sega CD. These games relied on terrible direction, C-rating acting, and offered little in the sense of real gameplay. Sewer Shark was FMV at its best, but that isn't to say it was great by any means. Still, it serves as the pinnacle of bad titles in a failed trial of gaming, and the only full-motion video title I can recollect fondly on. The game was a first-person rail shooter taking place in a post-apocalyptic future where humanity was forced to live underground. The game's objective was simple: pilot your way through the depths of mutant-ridden sewers all the way to Solar City. This game was basically the full-motion equivalent of a game like Dragon's Lair. Hard as nails, requiring multiple attempts and memorization if you wanted any chance of being successful. Dick Tracy was the absolute tits and was released on the Sega Mega Drive in 1991, accompanying the absolute terrible fucking movie released in 1990. While Warren Beatty took everything we loved about the famous hero/detective and completely shat on its existence, Sega released a truly marvelous title in return. It was side-scrolling at its absolute best, with an added gimmick. While you could take out the foes in front and behind you with a pistol, you could also switch to a Tommy gun to take out enemies in the game's backscape. It was truly one of Sega's best, and at the time, an innovative side-scroller. Sword of the Beserk, Guts Rage, was released in 1999 on the Sega Dreamcast, the world's most underrated and failed console. The Dreamcast was so pro-consumer that it didn't require you to purchase any of its games. Instead, in the same amount of time you could burn a full music CD from Napster, you could just as easily burn and play any game from the Dreamcast library. Beserk was notable for its early use of the QuickTime events it used to determine the different non-linear paths the player could take. On top of this, it relied heavily on hit detection, putting the player in tight corridors which made use of Guts' giant fucking sword hard to navigate. Anyways, I think that's it. If you like this video, please like, comment, or maybe even subscribe. There are so many games out there people haven't played that they should have that it would tickle me to make this an ongoing series. Until then, burn in hell, game on, and buy used Dreamcast and burn every game to a CDR so you can enjoy its entire library. Later.